The first thing anyone learns about Princess Veolyra of the Solari Dominion is simple. She did not believe in marriage. Not for love, not for alliance, and certainly not for the sake of tradition. She had made this clear thousands of times, usually with an amused smile and a dismissive flick of her violet fingers. For the Solari, marriage was a political instrument, a binding of bloodlines to strengthen telepathic potential. For Veolyra, it was an outdated relic, one she refused to entertain despite her mother's endless attempts to arrange courtships. Then I, Elias Rourke, a human xenobiologist from the Terran Union, stepped off a transport shuttle into the Solari capital, unaware that my presence would append her convictions. Beginning. A human arrives where humans don't belong. I had been sent as a scientific exchange representative to study Solari neural biostructures. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment, 3 months long, with minimal political involvement. Humans were rare in the Dominion, tolerated but not fully understood. As I entered the crystalline grand hall of the palace, my escort, a stoic guard named Corin, warned me in a low voice. Do not react if the princess mocks you. She mocks everyone. It is her way. Good to know, I replied. The throne room shimmered with refracted light from crystal spires embedded in the walls. Dozens of nobles stood in disciplined rows as the queen delivered an announcement. Today, Queen Seralith declared, my daughter must consider potential diplomatic partners. Several noble houses have presented candidates. The nobles stiffened. Some whispered. And at the front of the hall, Princess Veolyra stood with her arms crossed, amusement dancing on her luminous eyes. Mother, she said lightly, I have no intention of selecting anyone. Marriage is absurd. We both know that. A ripple of tension moved through the hall. The queen inhaled slowly, clearly used to this battle. You must at least evaluate them. I can evaluate them from here, Veolyra replied dryly. Not a single one possesses a mind I would connect to willingly. Nobles avoided eye contact, uncertain whether feeling offended or relieved. Then the queen's gaze shifted to me. This is Elias Rourke of the Terran Union. Human. Here as an honored guest. The hall fell silent. I felt hundreds of eyes on me. Measuring, analyzing, judging. Humans were physically unimpressive to Solari standards. I was shorter, heavier, my biology less luminous and less elegant. But humans had something the Solari lacked. Unpredictable neural flexibility. It often made us interesting curiosities. Veolyra turned toward me lazily, until her eyes fully landed on me. Then she stilled. Her expression shifted. The lazy amusement vanished. The mockery faded. She studied me with unexpected intensity. It was the first time that day someone looked at me like I was more than a visitor. Middle. What caught her attention? Later, at the diplomatic reception, Veolyra approached me directly. Nobles watched from a distance, whispering. They had expected her usual ridicule, but her posture was straightforward, almost serious. You are human, she said. I noticed, I replied. Her lips twitched. Not quite a smile, more an acknowledgement. You do not lower your eyes in my presence. In human culture, that often means something very different than in yours. Yes, I read your anthropological files. She tilted her head. Still, most visitors avert their gaze. They fear displeasing me. You don't seem easy to displease. Her eyes brightened with faint amusement. You think you know that already. I think you prefer honesty. And you get bored quickly. She stared at me for several long seconds. For the first time, her expression showed something fragile. Curiosity without armor. You are not wrong, she admitted. We moved to a quiet corner of the hall where holographic constellations drifted above us. Vealira observed them without speaking for a moment. Marriage, she said abruptly, is a contract of neural binding in my culture. A merging of thoughts, a sharing of memory strands. It requires mutual respect and compatibility of mind. Her voice hardened. I find most nobles insufferably predictable. I'm not a candidate. I know. She exhaled slowly. But I looked at all those noble suitors today, and I felt nothing. Then I looked at you, and my mind reacted. Reacted how? She placed a hand over her temple. Your thought patterns echoed toward me. Humans radiate emotion more openly than Solari. It is loud, but it is also unfiltered. Honest. So you're saying I'm mentally noisy? Her lips parted. This time it was a smile. Very noisy, but not unpleasant. From across the room the Queen watched us. Her expression carried calculation. The shift. When the princess stopped laughing. Over the next week, Vealira sought me out repeatedly. What began as simple scientific curiosity turned into extended conversations. We walked through crystalline gardens, observed Solari star charts, and discussed differences in cultural philosophy. I learned that Vealira's refusal to marry stemmed not from arrogance, but from experience. Every potential match saw her position, not her person. Every noble mind she touched felt coated in ambition. You treat me like an individual, she said once during a private garden walk. Because you are one. He paused. Most would not dare speak so casually to me. You don't seem like someone who needs people tiptoeing around you. Again that small, involuntary smile. It seemed she was still getting used to it. Weeks passed. Her mockery vanished whenever I appeared. When nobles whispered that the princess was becoming strangely human-friendly, she dismissed them. She challenged me to debates, asked questions that demanded blunt honesty, and sometimes simply walked beside me in silence, as though the absence of pretense was a form of relief. One evening, she invited me to view the memory prism, an artifact that recorded the emotional resonance of those who interacted with it. No outsider has touched this, she warned. You may decline. What happens if I don't? You will experience my emotional imprint. And I will experience yours. I placed my hand on the crystal. She placed hers beside it. Energy pulsed. Sharp, bright and synchronizing. I felt her strength, her weariness with political expectations, her longing to be seen without titles, and her quiet fear of emotional vulnerability. She felt my steady confidence, my curiosity, and a level of respect I had not spoken aloud. When the resonance ended, she withdrew her hand slowly. Now you understand, she whispered, why I laugh at the idea of binding minds with strangers. And now you understand why yours reacted to mine. She breathed in sharply, as if I had spoken a truth she had been avoiding. It seems, she said quietly, I do. The court reacts, and the conflict rises. The next morning the Queen summoned me. You have changed my daughter, Queen Seralith stated. She listens more. She mocks less. She smiles, something she rarely did. I didn't intend to influence her. That is precisely why you did, she replied. Your actions were genuine. But understand this. If she begins to favor you, the nobles will push back. Human biology is incompatible with Solari neural bonding. They will say you cannot be considered. I'm aware. The Queen's tone sharpened. What do you want, human? The question was direct. I answered in kind. I want her to choose freely, without pressure, from anyone. The Queen studied me in silence. That is why she noticed you, she said finally. and why this situation will soon become a political problem. Her prediction came true. Within days, nobles demanded that Veolyra resume evaluating noble candidates. Accusations spread that she was distracted by a human. During a formal gathering, a noble lord stepped in front of me. "Human," he sneered, "do not presume your presence is anything more than novelty." Before I could respond, Veolyra appeared. "Be cautious," she said coldly. "You are speaking to someone I invited." The noble stiffened. "You cannot choose a human. And who will stop me?" Her voice carried a sharp edge. The hall went silent. The turning point. The princess makes her choice. That night, Veolyra asked me to walk with her to the observation balcony. Above us, 3 moons aligned, casting pale blue light across her features. She folded her arms, not with arrogance but tension. "I laughed at marriage because it meant losing myself," she said. "Because merging minds with someone who sees me as an object is a prison." Understandable. "But today," she continued, "when the nobles challenged you, I realized something." She turned toward me fully. "I do not laugh at the idea anymore. Not when the person beside me is someone I trust." The admission was quiet but decisive. "Elias," she said, "I see you as more than a guest, more than a curiosity, and more than what our species define as compatible." Her voice steadied. "If I were to choose a partner, it would be someone who treats me like a person, not a throne. Someone like you." I exhaled slowly. "Veolyra, if you choose me, the court will retaliate. Let them. Your mother already suspects. And she will accept my decision if I stand firm." Her gaze held mine, confident, unguarded. For the first time, it was clear her laughter had never been arrogance. It had been armor. And now she had set that armor aside. Ending. A new path for 2 worlds. 3 days later, during the ceremonial gathering, Veolyra stepped onto the dais. The nobles waited with forced patience, expecting her usual dismissal. Instead, she spoke clearly. "I have chosen," she announced. The hall froze. "I will not bind myself to a noble house. I will not enter a political marriage." She lifted her chin. "I choose based on connection, not bloodline." Her eyes found mine across the hall. "I choose the human." Shock tore through the chamber. Some nobles shouted. Others protested. But the queen raised her hand. "My daughter has made her decision," Queen Seralith declared. "And I shall honor it." Veolyra crossed the hall toward me, unhurried, unashamed. The nobles parted, forced by tradition to let her pass. She stood before me and extended her hand. "I laughed at marriage," she said quietly, "because I had never met someone worthy of sharing a bond with. And now—" "Yes. Now," she replied, "I understand why such bonds matter." I took her hand. In that moment, a Solari princess and a human scientist defied centuries of tradition, not through rebellion, but through a genuine connection that neither had expected. And for the first time in her life, Princess Veolyra no longer laughed at the idea of marriage. She smiled at it,